Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Saturday.
I know.
So it's
Friday.
another episode of Millennial with Billy and Mel. What is going on, guys? It's the last one of the
It
year.
is
So we decided last second to do it on New
New
Year's
Year's
Eve, right? So
Eve.
so it's a big time of year for people. Lots of goals people are making, lots of hope for the next year. And so we're excited to be here with you guys. If you are joining for the first time, make sure you comment who you are, where you're coming in from. This is an interactive show where we want to, see what you guys are thinking. But before we get into today's topic, which is a review of 2022, Mel, what's going on? How's your week been?
It's good. It's been really of weird because I have been ready to work. Obviously, like us all that have our own business and we're kind of still working at home. We're not necessarily off, and a lot of people are off. So I've been feeling um, somewhat taking time off a little bit because everybody else is of like actually doing stuff. It's a little slower, but I've been using the time to get things like bookkeeping and some admin work and things that I've, on the back end of the business. So it's been productive, but it feels weird. It just kind of feels like there's just nothing going on. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, it was a weird dead week. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like it was just like I mean, I had client meetings and stuff like that and stuff going on, but yeah, I just feel like this is the forgotten week, right?
It does feel like that.
There's a funny down in Delaware. There's this road. It's a mile long. It's in between Rehoboth and Dewey Beach, and it's called the Forgotten Mile. And there's businesses on that street and stuff like that, but the people locals call that the Forgotten Mile.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I felt about this week. But I'm the
It
same way
makes
as
sense.
you. Getting just like especially because of just changes throughout the year, getting some processes in place and
Mhm.
just trying to set up 2023 so that it can be better than what 2022 was.
Yeah, and I think also it's given me some time personally to look to review the year, and then talk about some routines and things, like self-care things that I've been doing. It's almost like a little bit of a grace period and kind of some me time. So it's good. But got to keep working. Can't stop working.
Yeah, it's funny when you have a 9 to 5 or like you work, for somebody else and stuff like that. It's just like you're so happy to get off work. Like so
Right.
many people like for Christmas and and for New Year's, they're just like, "Oh, I'm off." Like
Right.
Megan's been off for since Christmas, and now she's been off this week. So, and she's like, "Oh, I got to go back to work," on Monday or whatever. And
Right.
I'm like, "Well, I've been working."
Right.
When you run your own business, there
Right.
is no off days, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely. So yeah, but yeah, I'm excited. I am I'm the reason also why we're doing it today, even though we did think it was cool to do it on New Year's Eve
it
because
was
it
a
was like the
accident.
it was a happy accident because it's the last day of the year. We're here with you guys. We get to really talk about today is the last day, so we get to really recap and start a new year tomorrow. But yesterday was an insane day for me, and the traffic was a nightmare. I literally wanted to like rip my eyes out. And I went over to the West Shore, and I don't go over there often. And I just think because it was the holiday weekend and people are off work. I mean, it probably took me 3 hours to get done what would have taken me an hour, and I just was everything went wrong. Like everything. I was, trying to check out. My debit card wouldn't work. I called the bank. Oh, I go on, and they won't let me get on the mobile app was down.
Oh,
So then
even better.
I call, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, it's like flagged. Like, you have to call your home branch. And then I realized that there was a Venmo, like a fraud alert. So I don't know if they shut it down. So then I went and I tried to pull cash out, and the ATM, like, you can only get $300 at a time. And it was just every little thing back and forth was like just a nightmare. But I got it all done, and I listened to 3 or 4 podcasts, which is a positive. I got time in the car, so it wasn't all bad. But I'm glad that we kind of could breathe today and do this, to look at all of our wins for the year.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about it too, um, because I think it is very important to review. I've been doing some, really, like, for me, like, goal setting is,
Hmm.
you know beforehand you didn't really know how to set goals, right? And
Hmm.
so now that when you start doing research on how to perfectly set those up, um, one of the overarching themes is reviewing your year,
Hmm.
and seeing what went well, what went
Hmm.
right, or what went wrong. What can we do better next time, and what's some areas that we want to improve on. So I'll be interested to hear what yours are. If you're watching live, even if you're not watching live, tell us maybe one win, maybe tell us one thing that you wish didn't
Yeah.
happen, and maybe something that you're going to change for next year. We'd love to hear that from you guys. But yeah, I'll let you start. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things to start off with was that I created a vision board in 2021 early with some girlfriends, and they came to my house and we had a little vision board party. And I know that it took me until midway through this year of 2022 to actually implement some of those. So I do think that the vision boards, and now I watch something that we call action boards because it's not just a vision, you need to take action. One of the things I want to really hit off with was I have them hanging. I have two. I have a professional one and I have a personal one. And I really set those goals, and they're visual, but they're goals. And that it doesn't take overnight. It's not going to be something that's quick that might happen when you have these goals or these visions. I mean, even some of the things that I started on earlier this year, I'm just now getting to. Like, it took me a while to face it. Like, I have to do this. And then how am I going to do this? And I'm afraid of doing this. And then I distracted myself from doing it. And then I got back on, I need to do this. So I think that going into, just putting that out there, because it's something that I think, as we talk about 2023, that it's going to be, it's a marathon sometimes, not a sprint. But I'm really happy to see that some of the stuff that I put on my vision board for 2021 into the future, I've almost completed a lot of the ones that were on, my boards, and my personal board especially. And um, that um, yeah, I mean, I think that it took a little bit, but for this year, I think I really set my mind to it. I don't think I was fully vested last year. I was going out all the time and I was really distracted. And one of the main changes that I made that I'm really proud of myself for this year was I just stopped going out on the weekends a lot. Like, I think it was earlier this year in the springtime. I had already really pulled back on from last year. I made a lot of bad choices with going out every weekend and drinking and spending money and, wasting time that wasn't growing me. And this year, one of my biggest things, and then that kind of catapulted me into all the other changes that I made this year. So one of the biggest things was staying home, not going out and not allowing distractions of just that, like, party scene and social scene that I had done for 10 or 15 years. It was really hard to make that change. So it was a transition process. But really, earlier this year, completely, saying that I'm not really going to worry about that scene, and going out and spending time at home really was my first, I think, major change that I'm really proud of myself for. Um, just not, and I think it was whether it was distracting myself or needing to be around other people or validation. I don't know what it was for, but it was avoidance for facing the real major, changes that I need to make in my life.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, and I'm really proud of you too, for making those changes, and especially making that change, because that wasn't serving you anymore, right? Like
No.
that wasn't really, if you think about, especially because, we're older millennials, right? And so, we're in our mid 30s to late 30s and stuff like that. And so, time becomes a little bit more in the forefront of your mind, right? When
Mhm.
you're 26, 25, like you don't really think about time, right? You're just in the moment, you're living, you're trying to figure out life, right?
Yeah.
But
So, like, not really responsibilities to
yeah,
say
you know,
someone.
but then like, as we get older, we need to really focus on what we use our energy and our time for.
Mhm.
And that is, for me, that is the number one goal I have. Like even above making money, making income, getting out of debt, like all those other like nice sounding goals, right? But the number one goal I have going into 2023 is managing my time better.
Mhm.
So managing by, maybe block scheduling, maybe not procrastinating, understanding why I procrastinate,
Mhm.
but
Yep.
being more, because like especially as an entrepreneur, especially as we don't get paid by the hour. Like
Right.
you don't get you could do 40 hours, 50 hours a week for the first 3 weeks and not see a paycheck until the end of the
Right.
month,
Right.
right? And so it's not like we get paid bi-weekly or anything like that. And so like being more cognizant of how I'm using my time, whether that's in my
Right.
relationship with Megan, whether that's at work, whether that's for pleasure, right? Whatever it might be. But 2023 is going to be about how can I optimize my time, right?
Right.
That's because I want to spend it in other places. Like I don't
Right.
want to always be working, right? Or how can I make my time more efficient? And so because we're limited with the amount of time that we have left. So,
Absolutely. And I think it started for me, it was a year ago, and I really started looking at all that time that I spent out. And, and I jokingly say I was like, hot girl summer, single for the summer. Haha. It was funny. But, it was time that wasn't growing me, and exactly what I started saying last summer into the fall. And this is really something that I spend, it's very close to my, everything, like you said, is who I spend my time with because of what we're intaking and what we're growing. And I said back last year, if it's not growing me personally, mentally, financially, physically, then I don't want to do it. It's not. And I know within 30 seconds of meeting somebody or talking to somebody, I think that that would be an interesting, connection or conversation that might be something that grows, and there's a reason for that conversation. But I said the same exact thing, and that's one of the main reasons about going out was I wasn't getting any of that fulfillment from anybody that I was spending my time with. Very few people, So then I said, well, I want to spend that time with them. So when I just focused on the people that I did feel that I was growing with, or having these great conversations, um, and then I spent that time with them, but I started not to spending time with people that weren't on the outside, but also just that I looked at that time and trading it. So, I went from having zero free time, no time, because I was always busy, because I was always doing stuff. When I cleared my space by not going out, then I said, well, that time is very valuable. And if I want it for growth and self improvement, like you're the junkie. You kind of got me into the improvement junkie too. But then I said, well, what can I be doing that is doing that? And that's reading. And that's, now recently has been more podcasts, but like I love doing those things. I love listening to them. Like it just changes my day, changes my mindset, it changes, and I just feel so much better. And I was not feeling that at all when I was doing those things last year. So it's really made a huge difference, I think, with the time, like you said, and time management.
yeah. And especially for you, like, money wise too, like you're going to be
Right.
saving a ton of money by not going out and
Oh,
doing those things.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
like,
and absolutely.
yeah, so you're not only helping yourself mentally, emotionally, but you're and spiritually, however you want to play that, but you're also helping
Right.
yourself financially. So um
Yep.
it's almost like I think 2023 is really about cutting the fat, right?
Right.
Like cutting the fat out of your life. And like,
Yep.
I think, and we've talked about this before, sometimes we take on too much.
Hmm.
And, that was probably a good, I had so much change throughout 2022. The complete half of the year was completely changed, changing new
Yeah.
companies and stuff like that, and everything that goes involved with that. So, um, it's like I said, it's about cutting the fat for me out of my life that doesn't serve me,
Hmm.
or doesn't serve my relationship, or doesn't serve my business, and just saying like, and just being real cognizant of just like, what value am I getting out of this thing, right?
Right.
Like, how am I doing this? Like all those things that run through my head. So,
Oh yeah. I think
um,
I did that. I honestly think I did that this year. And I think that because I spent a lot of time on that this year, and we'll talk about 2023 after some of our other wins for this year, but I think mine is more setting the plan and taking action. Like I've had to clear out that space in order to then move to the next phase of my life, which is then having that space to do it. So I feel like I had to make significant changes and remove a lot to create that. So, um, but one of the things that I was going to say for this year, I got back into my faith, like very much. I was in a lot of bad situations and stressful things that I just felt I really wanted to bring back a lot of spirituality in my life,
mhm,
and God. And I think that that really changed a lot for me significantly. And the people that I surround myself with, I found that my inner core people all had the same mindset and faith, and that really changed a lot for me. And the support that I had, and just conversations and things like that. So that was a really big thing. But also, some of the podcasts that I started listening to, ironically, I have not had unlimited data, and everyone that knows me, I'll be like, "Oh, I'm in low data mode," and it's not. It sounds so cheap, like it sounds so like I'm poor, but I never thought about this idea like unlimited data. I've had it for so many years. After I got divorced, I switched plans and I upgrade. I pay $15 extra to have an extra gig, but I've been traveling a lot. And then next thing you know, I use up that gig. And I'm like, what is going on? So I was in California recently, and one of my friends was like, Melissa, it's 2023 almost. What the hell? Get the unlimited plan. And I'm like, you're right. Like I just never looked into it. Like it wasn't like, oh, it's too expensive or I can't do, or I had to change plans. It was just literally I was just being lazy, to be very honest. So I went in as soon as I was on Wi-Fi, and it's the same exact price. Like it was literally $65. It was $65 for my data plan, and then $65 for unlimited. And we were like, what the hell? They were like, what have you been doing for the last 5 years of your life? So I switched over like instantly, which is hilarious because then I can do a lot more. But the podcast, so I got into these podcasts, and I have a screenshot I just want to hold up of the ones that really are important to me, because I listen to them in the morning when I'm getting ready and when I'm working, because I've gotten into reading, and it's one of the biggest things that happened in the last 2 years, and you've helped me with that. But these are some of the ones. There's the Daily Motivation by Lewis Howes and the School of Greatness, and then Mel Robbins. I just started with Boss Babe, but I can now listen to them like when I'm driving, and I don't have to be on Wi-Fi. So I am smiling so big right now because I would be driving and I'm like, damn it, I wish I could really be listening to one of their podcasts, because it does help me like mentally sometimes, like to just relax. And so that was one of the things I started listening to. And what's interesting, I'll put a list of the ones that I listen, like how you did with your books. I think that would be really cool for us to suggest some of the books. But one of the biggest things that was super interesting, Mel Robbins, I listen to a lot, and I really connect with her in a lot of ways. She just started her podcast a year ago. And like you're listening to it and you see I even sent you the little microphone block that she has. It's so cool. I was like, we need to get these.
yeah,
And she literally said, it was one of the podcasts. It was about fear. It was about like all these things that were holding us back. And she put everything out there. It was one of her most vulnerable episodes. And she said, I just started a year ago. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I was listening to something else recently, and they're like, I just started a year ago. And I'm like, holy shit, these people just started a year ago. Like, you know, just think if we start today, where we could be in a year. And you see this outside, we always compared at different chapters, but that the success and where she's come in just a year. Now she had written a book and she did have a
Following.
career,
Yeah.
and a following. But at the same time, like she didn't start for several years because of all of these excuses. So, it's really neat listening. I think these are all ways that we're in taking other people's stories, by reading and by podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you talk about reading and listening to podcasts, because that is something that I've always preached, and if anybody's watching, I preach, definitely start reading more. Even if you're not a reader, you can listen to audiobooks. There's no
Right.
excuse not to like better
I'm
yourself at
all
this
of
point.
I'm gonna be
Um,
2023 is audiobooks all day.
so
So
so I'm still I like audiobooks, but I always find like I learn better from actually reading the book. And so last year, I guess, because I can
mhm,
say it's last year in 2022, um, my goal was to read 24 books, right? And that's a lot of books.
it is.
That's two a month, and especially for someone that doesn't read, like, it's funny because I was talking to Megan last night, and she was talking to our niece. The one that actually inspired the millennial meme.
Yes.
And they were talking about they have this really cool app. I'll have to figure it out and maybe post about it, let you know. But it's like it's this book app. You can keep track of the books you read. You can put books on your list. All this cool stuff. Well, anyways, they're sitting there talking, and Megan's read like 60 books this year or something like that.
Wow. Good
My
for her.
my my niece has read 220 books
Stop.
this year. Yeah, I don't even, like, she is a
Does she
machine.
does
Like,
she have what does she do during the day other than reading?
she's
Yeah,
just super smart, and she just can read really
that's
quickly.
good. Well, it
Um,
also goes to show time management. She's
yeah.
not doing other things that,
Yeah, well, she said it
it's
the other
good.
day. She said, like, I used to like sit there and watch TV, and
Right.
now I just go upstairs in my room and read,
Yeah.
or I read, while they're watching TV, or whatever. But I started thinking about that yesterday because I made my goal again to read 24 books originally, but I remember, like, I was trying to get through the book so quickly that I didn't really learn anything. And
I
that's
saw
one of
your
the
post
things.
about that. I
And that's
yeah.
one of the things. It's like, because at the end of the day, guys, like, a lot of these books have like redundant themes, like,
Mhm.
especially if it's like motivational self-help, something along those lines. You might hear it from a different perspective, but if you're not taking action
Mhm.
on the things that you're reading, you're just reading. You're just wasting time. Like, you're
Right.
just, in my mind, that's just wasting time.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually pulling anything out of it. Like, if that's what you're reading for. Now, I read, some pleasure books, like, some, none of those romance books, but, I'll
Mhm.
read like fictional history and stuff like that, where it's like it's a historical event, but like the characters inside the event are fictional.
Mhm.
So I read some of those books throughout the year, but really taking what I've learned, I think is important for anybody that's listening. Really taking what you learn from these things and from these
Right.
people and the people that you surround yourself with, and actually putting it into play in your life. That's
Right.
another big thing I think 2023 should be about.
Yeah, and I think just like reading these things, like you said, it's repetition and a lot of the things that are over and over. I mean, my thing was creating routine. I mean, I my brain just goes, 1,000 miles a minute. Everyone that
Well,
knows
we're
me, like
creative people,
we
so
are.
that's how our
We
brains work.
are. And, one of the biggest things this year, and I was, going to different doctors and talking to my counselor and talking to people and even reading about it, is that what really helps with that is routine. I mean, I don't have ADHD, ADD, I have,
All the things, all the
we have,
letters.
everyone says like we have all these, it's not diagnosed, but sure, everyone's like, you have signs of that and high functioning anxiety. But one of the biggest things for me has been a routine. And, I think the repetition, a lot of it has to be a lot of it I say is retraining our brain. I think from a lot of things I've been going back to, things from childhood and just things that have been, holding me back and looking at, deeply looking at some of the things that and these these reasons. But one of the biggest things was routine. And I talk about that book that I started. It was a gift, and it's called Amazing Possibilities, 365 Days. And I
Mhm.
started reading it every morning, and I post about it, talked about it on the podcast, just because a lot of people had wanted to see what it was. But the routine of it, waking up, whether I pulled it right into bed and I read it, or I would kind of get up, make my bed, which is a good book as well, make your bed. But I would then sit on my bed and read it, and I added two other books, and I would read just that day. And it just really started to create that routine, which Make My Bed is about routines. And then, no lie, I went to church on Christmas. I've been doing virtual mass for a while, but they gave us a gift, and it's the same author. And I
Oh,
just started
wow.
reading this, and it's really interesting. But it reminds me also too, I read this on the plane. So there's actually really cool books that are super small. A friend of mine gave it to me. It's Michelangelo's Secret for Finding Your Passion, and it's called The Angel Inside. And I literally read it. I read half of it on the plane. I think I read Make Your Bed on the plane to Mexico, and I read this on the plane to California. So, there's no excuses, even when you're traveling, that you can't take small books like that. But I do have the stack over here for next year. I'm starting. Two of them were actually ones that I had started and never finished. So they're actually still on that. And then I got two more, and one was a gift too. But I think the routine for me has been very, very important. My skincare routine that was on my vision board was to take care of my skin. I went to an esthetician. I have like all these, I wasn't even washing my face. I was hardly taking my makeup off at night. It sounds disgusting, but I started thinking like, I was doing the moisturizer and sunscreen in my 20s, which is why I do think I had, good skin for in my 30s, but I wanted it to be great, and really take care of it in different ways with different products. And it's not cheap, so I had to kind of figure out budget wise. But one of the things was routine. Like I get, I'm not rushing anymore. I take my time. I do my skincare routine in the morning. I listen to my podcasts at night. I put my hair up, and I do my skincare routine at night. Like the self-care of that and the routine has been huge for this year,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
I also am like, oh my gosh, it's 10:30. I'm still out. I need to get home and and do my skincare. Like it's like, I know it sounds like I'm getting old, but I mean,
No, it's
just think
about
I was
it.
out till 2 a.m. drinking, coming home, and just crashing. And it's like I'm I would recognize myself last year for this year, and even like 5 years. And I always say a year ago or 5 years ago, but that routine, which includes working out, and I have a surprise for you. But my gym at the country club, they pipes burst, and it was going to be a couple weeks, and now it's going to possibly be a couple months since we can get in there. And it's right down the street, which is why I invested to go there, because I was going at 5:30, getting up at 5:30, going. There's only a couple of us there, sit in the sauna, I would read. It really screwed up my routine in the last week and a half, and about week. And I've been thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do for a couple weeks? What am I going to do? Because that was what was getting me up out of bed, was to go there. So just walking into my spare room and doing my workouts there isn't. That's not. I'm not feeling it. So I could join the Planet Fitness or PA Fitness, $10 a month or whatever it is, and I can drive farther. Um, but I decided I'm gonna start the 75 hard with you. I'm gonna start tomorrow.
Oh,
And
nice.
because it's not just about working out, it's about discipline,
Yeah.
and it's about mindset and discipline. And I really, going into next year, want to continue this discipline that I've really gotten into. So I'm gonna start tomorrow.
Yeah, me and Megan are really excited about it because I was actually so this morning I went to one last workout before the year ended. So I went to a friend who has a boxing gym,
Nice.
and so I'm exhausted right now because that was an hour and a half. I literally weighed myself when before I left, and sorry if my dogs are barking, but I literally weighed 197. I got home and weighed 190, 193.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so I lost
You
a ton of
sweated.
weight.
Yeah, you sweat that out.
I
Yeah.
sweated it out. But I was talking to the trainer that was there. Her name is Teresa, amazing woman. but I was talking to her about, she saw that me and Megan were going to do 75 hard, and she was just like, and we were going to do it together. And a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing together. So like
Mhm.
reading together, what, like,
Yep.
you have to do two workouts. So obviously the first workout we won't do together because I wake up a little bit earlier than she does. But we might change that. She might start doing a workout with me in the morning, but we're going to do a workout at night together. We're going to walk,
Right.
right? 45
Right.
minutes, and we'll be able to listen to podcasts and
Yeah.
do
And
all those
talk.
things and just talk.
Yeah.
And really, because that's a big goal of mine. Like, we already have a pretty close relationship, me and Megan, but like, that's my goal for 2023, is like to grow that relationship even deeper. I think
That's
there's so
awesome.
many like marriages out there that don't even really talk to their significant other like on a real
Yeah.
basis.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I always want to get, I mean, like I said, we have a good relationship, but like to get deeper and to have that
Yeah.
connection. um
That's awesome.
and for her, I think it's going to be amazing transformation, because she reads a lot, right? But she
Mhm.
doesn't read a lot of the books like I've read, where it's like development books, like self
Mhm.
development. So to see her at the beginning of the year versus towards the end of the year is going to be an amazing transformation. So I'm really excited about that
Yeah.
too.
And you can
Um,
talk about those books while you're even doing your walk too.
Yeah, yeah. We're she's her first book she's starting off with is a favorite of both of ours, is the Atomic Habits.
I love it.
So she's starting off there. She's also going to read a couple of my books that I have. This one's gonna be pretty interesting to read. I know
Mm,
it's about goal setting, so I've already
okay.
set my goals, but I want to read this and see if there's something I can tweak or change, or because like I did it the exact same way that I did my goal planning last year, which I accomplished a lot of the things that I wanted to accomplish. But you can always improve on how you like do things.
Mhm.
Like, you can read something. Or I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was about financial advising. Surprise, surprise, right? But somebody said something a certain way that like was like, oh, I can use that.
Right.
And literally, I was walking into an appointment after listening to that podcast, used that exact same phrase, and that person
Yeah.
was like, profound. They're like, no one's ever asked me that before, right? So
Yeah.
um, you don't have to change the entire way that you're doing something, but you can add to. And I think that's a pretty profound thing to do as well for next
Absolutely.
year.
I think a lot of the things that I've read and a lot of the podcasts it's like these aha moments, and if you implement them and take them, add them into your routine, or make changes. Two of them that I pulled these off my vision board, but I started printing out like quotes and things that like I saw or I said, or like things that, that I tell myself, and I printed them out. It was a suggestion from something that I was watching, but I put them all over. Like, I taped them onto my bathroom mirror. I taped little podcast or little um, post-it notes like on my computer. And it's like little things that are like inspiring or motivation. And I just look at them every day and I repeat them, because I do think that goes back to like repetition of our brain. But when you said about like the relationships and stuff, I was listening to a podcast. There's Steven Speaks. He does a lot of like relationship podcasts and for women about men. And one of the things that somebody had actually talked to me about 2 years ago that I never did was a list. And it looks really long, but it's about what you're looking for in a partner. And it was internal and external. So not just like on the outside, but internal things. And then I was watching something else that said, when you make that list, become the list, because then you attract like what you want. So I made this list, and it's just a lot of it is like writing things down. Like, I literally wrote down, I put a craft paper, like wrapping paper, and I started writing down made to keep, millennial, you know, my finances. Like, I finally paid off all my debt this year. I had a, debt
That's big.
program, and I finally got all that paid off. So then what's next? So I think writing things down has been really big for me, because a lot of it was just stored in my head. And of course, there's a lot going on up there. So writing things down, and putting those goals down. I think, there's repetition of every day, and that we're telling ourselves, we're kind of, believing it ahead of time. But I also found this book that was just like randomly sitting somewhere in my house. It's a journal. And one of the things that I heard was to make some changes was gratitude journal. So that's actually something for 2023 that I'm going to start doing every morning, is writing what we're grateful for. We talked about that on the podcast last week, which was looking at what you do have and not focusing on what you don't. So I think that was a big problem of mine was, I'm always like, I don't have this, and I don't, I can't get there, and I won't get this, and that's impossible. And I'm just going to constantly be writing down my gratitude of what I do have. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a big thing to look at what we have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's so important. Just being grateful for what you've accomplished, where you're at. I think people just think about all the things they didn't accomplish, but they don't think
Right.
about the things that we actually
Right.
did.
Right. So I'm glad we're talking about this, because I do think that people should be recognizing their wins and looking at the year as, instead of saying, oh, well, this didn't happen and that didn't happen. Okay. Well, my shit didn't happen last year because guess what? I was distracted and doing dumb shit. So, I mean, like it happened this year, but I think that it's a matter of, looking at it as a whole. Another couple of things, I started cleaning house, decluttering my life, whether that included people, clients, events. That was very significant and very difficult this year. Earlier this year, it happened all at once. I literally took I've talked about it before. I took a clean swoop, and I was just like, all of it, it's gone. If it's toxic, if it's not healthy, it was very difficult, but it was necessary for me to get where I'm at, and I don't regret it. And including that, I started cleaning up my house, getting rid of stuff. I just got rid of 8 trash bags of invitations, literally 8 trash bags that I've been
That's
carrying
crazy.
around for 4 moves for probably 6 years. That I was like, oh, I'm going to use these for samples. I'm going to give these to vendors. I'm going to send them to venues. And, no, done. I want to go digital. I've decided I want to go all digital. I stop holding on to the past. Let it go. It's a huge thing that I did this year, and I'm going to go into 2023 is letting go of the things that aren't serving us, and that could be just junk. And we did the podcast about clutter, and I cleared the space. I got rid of a lot of stuff, and if you want to sell it, fine. It does take time and energy. Just donate it. Just get rid of it. But that was a huge thing for 2022 for me too.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love it all. I have a lot of hope. Right, that's the
Yep.
big thing about that tomorrow is just like hope of a better time, a better just hope, right? Like
Yep.
that it's going to be a little bit better. So I think what we should kind of wrap up with is what's we kind of shared a little bit, right? But like, what's that one thing that's like you have to accomplish in 2023 that you could be like, hey, like if this is the only thing I accomplish, like it was successful.
For me,
Yeah.
I've really been thinking about my purpose and my why, and you've talked about this before. I just feel I have a lot of energy to give. I have a lot of stories. We've all been through a lot of struggles, and I think that we're here to use that struggle and that pain um, to help people. And I'm figuring out my purpose, and I really think that this podcast has evolved a lot for us over the last couple months, even
Hmm.
that I really want to use my energy and my things that I have gone through to help other people, and I'm figuring all that out. What it looks like, I don't know, but I do think that I really feel there's this part of me that really wants that I'm meant for. There's something more. So I'm trying to complete things with my business that I can step aside. I've hired some people and outsourced a lot. That was really big for me to, ask for help and whatnot. So I'm trying to figure out what else is out there for me and my purpose. I I'm getting close and using my stories, but but yeah, I think continuing what I've really set the foundation for 2022, all the changes that I made, I think are going to be very, very important for taking action in 2023.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, for me it's just going back to the original thing I said, time management, just
Hmm.
being understanding of my time, where I want to spend it, and just not and living and managing my time comes down to also being like living each moment purposefully,
Hmm.
and not just being like wasting time, right?
Right.
Because there's so many people that don't have that time, right? They're not here
Right.
anymore, and so that I think about that,
Absolutely.
every day. So, but with all that said, it's our two favorite times of the show. So the first thing is first, we have the millennial meme of the week. Oh, and I got the banner up there. Look at that. And
It's okay.
there it is, right there, the
Millennial
millennial
meme.
meme. And so, actually, what we decided to do, since it is the last show of the year, we have decided to share. We're doing two memes, right? And it's
Yeah.
not where Mel gets to choose two memes. This is where we've actually done a meme for each of us. So I'll go first. So here's mine. And it says me after being jumped by 21 and 2022, and then it says 2023's bullshit, and it's a person about to throw a chair at another person, and the
Like
person,
behind a kitchen counter.
yeah,
Yeah.
the other person's like, bring it, like, let's
Right.
go, like, I'm ready for
Yep.
your bullshit, right?
Yep. I love it. We've
So
prepared. We're ready. Bring it
you're
on.
ready, we're ready for
Mine,
2023.
I
So
love it. So I just watched a movie, and if you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. It's stupid funny. But mine is, if Nicolas Cage can still get work, then you can do anything. And it's a
they're
picture of
pretty
him.
funny.
And I'll tell you, if you haven't watched the movie, it's Nicolas Cage's new movie, and it's a basically a spoof of his life, and it talks about that, like him getting work still, and like that he's like a washed up actor. It's hilarious.
Oh my god, I
So
can't I can't wait.
yeah,
I can't wait to watch it. That
it's
sounds
funny.
amazing.
I watched it while I was in California, so it's good.
And then at the end, right, it's the last one of the year. It's Mel's moment. So it's an opportunity where Mel gets
Love
to
it.
share a little bit more piece of advice with us to take us into the week. But not only is it taking us into the weekend, technically, it's taking us into the new year. So Mel, take it away.
So, what I think, all this talk about 2022 and 2023 ahead, I think that we definitely need to set some solid goals, but don't put them on a specific timeline. Like there are small goals that I think that are achievable, because I have been setting myself up almost for failure because I've had these things that I'm trying to do so fast. So we want to stop looking at other people's chapter 20s, just start today and start where you're at. Literally, that's very difficult to do, but bring it into like you and just where you're at right now. And that, you don't have to you still want a sense of urgency to do these things, but stop putting timelines on it because we're not achieving them, and then we're getting hard on ourselves. Like I've wanted to do things, I wish I was doing them 10 years ago, and I look at where everybody else is. I think that we take today, we look at some goals for the new year, and even if we're setting them in the next couple of days, but just put them down on paper, create a vision board, put them down on paper, and just start tackling them, slowly.
Hmm.
Just continuously try to do them, and not be saying I want to do this in a week, or not having these what is it, just these expectations that aren't fulfilled. So put them down, and like just think of what's going to happen in 6 months to a year when we're here again in a year looking at this, and we're going to like, wow, look at all the stuff that we've achieved. But give yourself some grace to to spread out that timelines.
Yeah, I love that. And what the thought that ran into my head when you were just saying some of the stuff you're talking about was get 1% better every day.
Yeah.
Just imagine
Yep.
where you'll be in a year. So
Absolutely.
with that said, guys, it is over. 2022 is over, and we're
Almost.
marching into 2023. So we appreciate everybody that jumped on, that always comments. There, look, he had to sneak in at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon.
Brandon stuck in at the end.
Our
I
biggest fan.
love it. But yeah, it's just have a good year, guys. Have a good
Yep.
year. Hopefully, it goes well for you. we'll be here. But we thank everybody so much for jumping in and commenting throughout the year and sharing this big plans, big goals for this podcast in 2023. So hopefully you're there to be a part of it. But anyways, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next year.
Bye.